going here. All right, so this is week 6, and so this is last week I said on week 5, and right about now is when people really start to not really struggle, but you start to get demotivated. Things start to kind of fall apart. Maybe you've gone several weeks and you've been very, very dedicated and you've done really well, and then all of a sudden you decide to take like a day off or maybe the weekend off, and you struggle to kind of get back on. And so I'm going to touch on this a little bit when we get to the questions, because this week a lot of questions revolved around this kind of restarting, or how do I deal with cheat days or cheat meals or whatever. And then another thing that happened this week is I worked with quite a few of you guys on the phone, and then a couple of you personally that I had meetings with or one-on-ones with, that we just kind of took a little sidestep from where we've been with the nutrition part and did some other additional work. And so, you know, my saying always, my favorite quote, for things to change, you have to change. And I think this week I probably have said that even more to more people. And so know that right now, especially week 6, for most of you guys, a couple of you are a little behind us in the period of time you've been in the group so far. But for the most of us, we've been doing this now consistently for 5 and 6 weeks. And it's okay that things are not working exactly the way you want them, or maybe you're not exactly where you thought you'd be at this point. And probably more importantly, maybe you're not quite getting those results. You're not just as tight as you want to be. You're thinking that you should have been maybe a little further along by now. And so I want you to hear me say this, because this is what really came from this week. I want to give you guys permission to be okay with that. Like, be okay with not being where you really thought maybe you wanted to be, and give yourself permission to kind of set back and reevaluate where you are with your program and where you want to go from here forward, and be okay with that. Don't beat yourself up with that. And that's where the things to change comes in, because we tend to, or at least I do, tend to use these places of demotivation as opportunities to go back and say, well, see, I'm just not worth all of this effort. I've done this over and over and over again. I'm just not worth it, and so therefore I'm just not going to do it any longer. And in order for you to get through that little hurdle, you have to change. You have to change what's up here, and you have to find other ways to work through this. And so as I talked with one person this week, it has nothing to do with this nutrition. Like, you know, we're learning so much stuff, we're doing so much work, but it really has nothing to do with this. It really has everything to do with what's in here and in here. And once we get this straight, once we change this, then all the things that we're learning can be put to practical use. And so if you're in that place and you're struggling there, don't hesitate to say, hey, Jason, I don't know what that noise is from. Say, hey, I'm sorry about that. I think it was my keyboard. To say, hey, Jason, I really want to take a sidestep and shift this and figure out why I'm kind of where I'm at right now. And I can walk you through that. I've been there. I understand it. And maybe a couple of you in the group that we've had that conversation this week, maybe you might want to post in the group or do something in the group to let people know exactly what you're doing to kind of get through some of those hurdles. And so I wanted to visit that, because for things to change, you have to change is a great place right now for most people, because this is the spot where we have to make some changes for most people. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody so that we can get this presentation started and get on for tonight. All right, so here we go. All right. So tonight's week 6, we're going to talk about sports nutrition and supplementation. Now, these two things kind of blend together, because there's just a lot of information in here that we will cover. And so I want you to take great notes tonight. There's a ton of information, and don't hesitate about asking questions with this one at the end, or sending me questions, because this is where we get tripped up. This is a lot of information that we can get tripped up on, and I'll explain why that is here in just a minute. So tonight we're going to review last week, which was meal planning and nutrition labels, And then we'll talk about our follow-up calls and questions, because I had some great questions this week, and you guys have shared a lot of great information. So I want to make sure we get to those. Then, of course, tonight we'll talk about nutrition, sports nutrition and supplementation, and then we'll finish it out with you guys' questions. All right, so last week, if you were here last week or watched the video from last week, you remember we talked a significant amount about meal planning and how meal planning and preparation is the #1 reason people have excuses. Like they can't, they don't know how. All the excuses come into meal planning a lot of times, and people say, I don't have enough time. Well, if they had meal prep prior, they would have had time. And so it becomes kind of a #1 catch-all for a lot of excuses that we have in our nutrition program. Now, there is no right or wrong way to do this. There are literally hundreds of ways that you can meal prep and strategize, and tools you can use, and all kinds of things you can do to make it work for you. You just have to find what works. Let's see. Here we go. Got one phone. There we go. I had somebody unmute. All right. So next. There we go. So find a method and a routine that's enjoyable and effective for you, and do your homework before you start prepping. When you sit down to do your prep work, think about what you're going to cook. Write everything out. Do a lot of homework. Find out where the good sales are at the grocery store. All those kind of things. Think about the storage methods you're going to be using. Think about how much freezer and refrigerator space you're going to have. How are you going to get your prep meals to and from work, and what kind of ingredients are involved in these particular meals, so that you have a good shopping list and know exactly what you need when you go to the grocery store. All right. So next, we have 15 tips for meal planning. The first one, spend time each week looking for recipes. #2, create a place to save your recipes and keep it simple. We talked about some apps that people use to keep the recipes. Ask your family and friends and roommates, partners, husbands, wives, what they like to eat, and make it kind of a game with them. Try, use it as an opportunity to cook something for them that they might like, and learn how to cook for them. Although it sounds a little hokey, check the weather, because if today was a rainy day, you might want something warm and maybe soup-like, versus when the weather's really nice out, you might want something a little cooler. So be sure you're checking those. Keep a meal journal. Just like you keep track of all of your food and your workouts, you definitely want to keep track of what you're cooking, and tips and things that you can change the next time you make it. That helps you plan for the future. Start a calendar. Use your Google Calendars or different calendar systems that you can use, and create a meal calendar so that you have that already in your plan. Go with a theme night. And I mean, I love the idea that people do like Taco Tuesday and things like that, where now you have set menus every night of the week, and you make them kind of fun and learn some good ideas and some good things for theme nights. Choose a shopping day and make a shopping list. I always go shopping on Sundays. It seems to be the best day for me. I have the easiest time with it on Sunday. Nothing kind of gets in my way. And I use that shopping list as my go-to. I don't deviate from that shopping list, because that's how I make mistakes. I check what's on sale. So if you go to a major brand store and they have a website, you can always check before you go what they might have on sale that week. If you use like warehouse stores like Costco or whatnot, then of course you can go online. A lot of places like that, especially for those of us here in DC, I shop online and they send it to me. I don't actually have to go to Costco, and so I can do all that shopping online, which makes it really easy. Plan for leftovers. I always cook more than I need and make multiple servings, so that I have lunch tomorrow or food left over that I can put in the freezer and have for a later date. As soon as I get home from the store, I prep all of my food, all of my vegetables, my fruits, my meats are all cleaned and ready to go. If I'm going to make sauces or prepared stuff, I make a lot of those things in advance. If I'm going to have things like quinoa or farro or some type of grain that requires 25 to 35 minutes worth of cooking, I cook those ahead while I'm cleaning my other foods. I have those things already cooking and in the fridge ready to go, so I can make a meal in 10 minutes. Cook components of your meal. That's basically what I was just talking about there. Be strategic about freezing. So if you know that you're going to make something of large quantity that you can keep for maybe a couple of weeks, put it in the freezer and have it a couple of weeks out in advance. But don't overstuff the fridge. The biggest problem with a lot of meal prepping is that we put stuff in the fridge and we forget about it. We don't know what's in there. And then lastly, keep a well-stocked pantry. Always have, your basic food groups, your basic spices and lemons and your olive oil and things like that on hand, so that you don't have an excuse not to have a healthy reason or healthy option to cook. All right, and then we talked about these 2 little meal guides. Both of these are just paper tools that you could use if you want, but there are tons of ways out there. And then the second topic we talked about would be nutrition labels. One of the most important skills is understanding what's on a nutrition label. And guys, there was a lot of questions about nutrition labels this week that we talked about. People really became conscious about what they're putting in their body when they looked at nutrition labels and started reading what was on there. And so we had this example of this broccoli soup, noticing that it's 2 servings and 1 cup is the serving size. And then that means all the ingredients on here, if you eat the entire container, it must be doubled to get it. So pay close attention to the details. Don't assume a small packaging is a single serving. The official beverage size is 8 ounces, but most beverages are packed into 16 or larger ounce containers. And so, they will have sugar, for example, sugar content of maybe 24 grams per serving, but you might have had 3 servings if you drank the full serving, the full container. All nutrition facts are for 1 serving, which means you'll have to double these on this particular label. Now, there's also a little piece on there about daily value, the % daily value, and this was developed by the FDA to be used on food labels, but unfortunately, this standard is used based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So if it says that it has 50% protein of the average daily value, it means that you're getting 50% of the protein in this one particular meal based on 2,000 calories. Well, if 2,000 calories is not your baseline calories, then you need to know what that means. Quite honestly, % daily value really doesn't help a lot of people. It's just really confusing on the labels anyway. And so I usually tell people just to ignore it. Really look at the grams and understanding grams that you're consuming per serving. Some things some things to visualize while you're reading labels. For every 5 grams of fat, that equals a teaspoon of fat or 1 pat of butter. So 5 grams of fat, a full pat of butter. For 4 grams of sugar equals a teaspoon. So in that 16-ounce container of sweet tea that you might have, there might be 30 grams of sugar, which that means there are 2 servings at 16 ounces. And so that gives you 60 grams of sugar or a 1/3 cup of sugar by drinking this one particular drink, okay? That's just a lot of sugar to have in there. And lastly, compare your labels with every choice. Look for hidden fats and hidden sugars, and just really look at them. I know, Melissa had that revelation a couple of weeks ago with the yogurt. Looking at the label, you make an assumption based off of what you think might be healthy, and then when you turn that label around, you realize that the choice you just made didn't necessarily align with what your goals were for that day. And so then that just teaches you to really look at those labels. Now, some of the questions we had from this, the meal planning, a lot of people ask questions about apps that people might use to do your grocery lists or your recipe lists. And I have to tell you, I mean, there are just an abundance of these type of apps out there. But probably one of the most widely used ones that I know of is just using your Evernotes. And so Evernotes just creates a shopping list, and people put everything in there, and like a typical note one. Now there is another one. It's called Meal Lime. Lime Meal. It's Lime Meal. So the logo looks like half a piece of lime. That one's a really popular one. I have several people who recommend or who use that one. And with Lime Meal, I think there's a free version and a paid version. You can create menus for your week. You can actually lay out your meals, tell it what you want, create menus from it, and then it creates shopping lists based off of those items. And I think the paid version even interfaces with your local grocery stores to tell you what they have and interfaces with their pricing list. And so it's really robust, but for someone who is interested in like really meticulous grocery list and recipe list, that might be something to consider. I personally just, I'm an old-fashioned list kind of guy. I use my paper lists, and I have my lists, and I might end up putting it in my notepad for my phone, but pretty much I'm a I'm a list maker. Suggestions on containers. Now, the containers, I put a post in the Facebook group. For those of you who are in the Facebook group, an Amazon link to some containers I had purchased. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stop sharing this page for a minute because I want to show you guys a couple of things. So this was the link I put on there. This is just it's almost like a restaurant Chinese to-go type container. I bought these on Amazon. They're incredibly inexpensive. They had like 10 of them per package. That was like, I don't know, $9, $13 or something like that. I've had these for probably a year or more, and they get used and washed all the time, and they're in the microwave and whatever, and they're completely fine. They've lasted very well. I have these that are single serving. I have these that have 2 compartments in them. I also have one that has 3 compartments in it, which I don't use very often. I use these 2 the most of my time. So those are containers that I use for my meal prepping. So I put everything in there. And if you know, have you started looking at your meals, you already know that this size should fit your whole meal. There shouldn't be a whole reason that this wouldn't fit your whole meal if you are having a typical meal with what you need, okay? Now, another thing, typical shaker bottles, I like the blender bottles because it has the little blender ball in it that moves to the metal ball. I use these, and so the suggestion is I always have one of these bottles with my shake already made in it. So whatever I'm going to have for my shake, there's always, and in fact, it is, I don't know why I didn't grab that one, it's sitting over there ready made. So if I have to run out and I don't have an opportunity to have a meal, the shake is already made in my blender bottle. All I need is water, so I can go to the restroom, or I can buy a bottled water and put water in it, shake it up, and I have my full meal. So there is no excuse for not having my shake on hand with me if I need a meal replacement. Now, tablets can be a little more difficult for people. I have clients who are on several tablets a day. They take a multivitamin and a fish oil, and maybe they're on a couple of the sports nutrition supplements that we're going to talk about tonight. And so tablets can become a little cumbersome. And so I have a couple of suggestions. One is just your basic little tablet boxes that you get at the grocery store. It has multiple compartments in it. You just put everything in here, whatever you need. I have a large one. I take any tablets I take them out of the containers and put them together so that I have them all right in front of me. But then this is something that a client actually suggested one time. I'm out of focus again. Come on, you can come back. There we go. She suggested, and I started using it, and I really like it. This is called GoStack, and it's GOSTAK, and I actually think they're owned by Blender Bottle as well. But these come apart. They just attach like this, and the little lids are attached to themselves, and so I can open the lid off of it or whatever. And then it has this little handle on the top that fits the top one. And so this particular piece is what I take to the gym with me. And so all of my pre-workout tablets will go here. So if I have to have my pre-workout tablets, which I take a couple that go in here, my pre-workout will go in here, the powder for my pre-workout, and then my post-recovery shake goes in the bottom. And so then I have my clean bottle. I put my pre-workout in, I take that, and when I'm done, I put my post-workout in, and I take that, and I have my tablets, and this is what's in my gym bag. Okay, so it's much easier to carry something like this, and I've had these for a while too, and they are really, really handy. They don't spill, they don't come apart, and you can get multiple sizes of these things. So you might want to take a look at those. Okay, I think that's all I've got for this. So those were my suggestions for that. Let's go back here. There we go. Okay, so that's how I organize all of my stuff and do containers and whatnot. So hopefully that'll give you guys a little bit of help. Now, nutrition labels, the questions I had on nutrition labels. The first one was, hey, fiber and sugar don't add up to total carbohydrates on my my labels when you look at them. And they don't ever add up. And so that can be really confusing. They're like, well, if it says carbohydrate, it should be a fiber or a sugar. That's not necessarily true. Carbohydrates don't have to be fiber or sugar. Remember, they could be other things we talked about a couple weeks ago. And so just because your total carbohydrates may say 30 grams, the FDA only requires them to break out fiber and sugar from it. So don't get confused by your nutrition label when you don't understand how many carbs is in it. It is the total carbohydrate in the product, but sugar and fiber will be broken out. And then, of course, sugar alcohol is the other thing that they have to break out. Vitamins and minerals. And so some questions on how much do you need to be looking for vitamins and minerals, and how are those listed on labels. And so vitamins and minerals are not necessarily, they don't have to be accounted for on the nutrition labels. And so a lot of times you won't see that information. Sometimes if something's really healthy and has good vitamins and minerals, they might put that on the label, but not always. But there are lots of recommendations. I mean, lots of different numbers for recommendations of different vitamins and minerals. The main thing is, we'll talk about this in just a minute too, is that if you're eating a good, healthy, balanced diet, and you're getting whole foods and also a mixture of different types of meal replacements that have multivitamins already in them, then it's likely that you're getting enough good vitamins and minerals. Most people, however, with our diets being so void of any nutritional value, most people do not get the vitamins and minerals they need in their body, and therefore that's why a multivitamin is suggested. But once you get a little beyond where you're just doing maintenance nutrition, and we go into sports nutrition tonight, you'll understand why this can be more important. And then lastly, how to understand the ingredients list. Actually, Kayla, when she first started, she was reading the labels of a meal replacement she had just purchased, and she missed a key thing that said, at the very top of it, it said that this product does not contain, and she read the ingredients label thinking, oh my gosh, this thing has all this stuff in it that I don't really want, and it said does not contain. And so unfortunately, when I asked her to look back and tell what was in the package, it doesn't even list what's in the package. It just lists what's not in the package, which is kind of odd to me. But ingredients lists can be very, very confusing. The main thing with ingredients list is to look at your first 3 items. It's usually pretty standard that the first 3 items on the ingredient list is the most abundant product in that particular thing. So when you look at this particular food item and sugar is the second item in there, that's probably because, and it's listed in the percentage of how much is in that particular item. So when sugar is your number 2 item, it means of this particular food that you're about to eat, sugar is the number 2 item by volume in that particular food. So look at your ingredients list. It does ring true. If you can't pronounce 50% of the things that are on that list, it's probably not very healthy for you. Those are things that are like preservatives and colorings and additive flavors and just things that you don't even know what they are. You don't need to really put them in your body. So ingredients lists can be very, very confusing. Just read your labels, and if you don't understand it, probably just put it down and move on to another option. All right, the last thing that I want to talk about is something that came up in several personal conversations kind of outside of what we talked about, and that was this cheat meal day and falling off the wagon. Now, I told you when we first started, this is kind of where people start to kind of stumble a little bit and really start to lose some motivation. And is a cheat day or cheat meal, what do I think about those things? So here's my story about cheat meals and cheat days and falling off the wagon. It's simply a choice that you make, okay? If you choose to go tonight and have pizza when we're done here tonight and have, more pizza than you should, and you have a beer with it, it is simply a choice that you did tonight. Maybe you had a really bad day and you just said, you know what, I just don't want to think about this right now. I just want something to eat, and this is what I want. By all means, I do it, guys. I do it. I do it when I don't feel well, or I do it when my day is just busy and I haven't planned well. I have those days myself. And so the difference is being able to just allow it to happen and not hold yourself hostage in the choice. Don't hold yourself hostage in a bad choice, because it wasn't a bad choice. It was just a choice that wasn't necessarily in your plan today. But what happens is we'll have that cheat meal or that cheat day, and we'll agonize over it. We'll be like, okay, I'm going to take a cheat day today, and I want something. I want whatever it is. And I've had a couple of you send me messages and say, hey, I'm having a cheat meal today. This is what I want. Is that okay? My answer is absolutely, and eat the fries with it. I mean, have a good time. Enjoy yourselves, and really enjoy that, and reward yourself for the work that you've already done so far. The difference, though, is tomorrow, just go right back on the program. Don't beat yourself up for that day or that weekend or the trip that you ended up taking and just kind of really fell off the wagon for the weekend. Just get up tomorrow and do it all over again. Just go right back to where you were. No problems, no fuss. Just do it. And that way, you learn to forgive yourself and you become healthier with the choices that you make. So many of us allow our choices to dictate long term when it was just a choice that we made to have pizza tonight. And yet for some reason, 3 weeks later, we still find ourselves sitting on the couch not doing the work because we had pizza one night and we blew it. And that makes no logical sense, and we know that, but it happens and we allow that. So just get back on tomorrow and just do your best as you've done so far, and enjoy those days, enjoy those trips, enjoy the fun meals, and love them. I promise you, they're never as good as you think they are. That's the problem. You eat all this stuff and you think, oh my God, this big cheeseburger and french fries are gonna be so good. And then you're like, oh, I feel awful afterwards. Kind of reminds you why you keep doing this. All right, enough about those things. Today we're gonna talk about my favorite topic, guys. I am not gonna keep you here all night long, but this is where my education is. This is my forte. This is my world. This is what I love. And so I'm really passionate about sports nutrition. This is all chemistry, biochemistry. This is how we train the body and teach the body and learn what things in the body can change by adding certain things in certain quantities to our body. And it's not an exact science. It's just really understanding your body. So sports nutrition is the advanced understanding of nutritional needs based on specific fitness and sports-related goals. Now notice, it's advanced understanding. So you guys are just now getting basics. You're learning the basics. You're learning how to put together all of your meals. You're learning how to fuel your body perfectly. You're still learning those calories. You're still tracking. You're still learning how to make adjustments in your daily just to meet your basic needs. When we get to sports nutrition, those things are already met. You're already doing the basics. You already know how many calories. You already know how much protein you need. You already know how to reach those things, and you're comfortable reaching those goals. You already know that. Once we get beyond that and we start learning about specific fitness goals, then we can begin to add some of this stuff in. It's also important to understand that one size does not fit all. Just because this is what I do, or just because this is what the container says, or this is what research shows, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the same for you, because our bodies respond differently to different stimuli. And so don't think that it's just going to be simply adding in this piece and it's going to work, okay? Tracking is critical. I mean, I cannot stress this enough, guys. If you can't track your basic meals yet, then tracking for sports nutrition is going to be a beast. This requires you to understand every single thing you put in your body and every single thing you give out of your body. If you don't track your heart rate monitors and know exactly how many calories you're burning in Sean's class tonight, and Kayla, I don't know how many calories you burn in class, it looked like at least 1,000. So if you don't know that number, then it's impossible for us to determine how best to fuel that body for fitness, okay? So you've got to track it, and I have to know everything. And I have clients that are super athletes and bodybuilders, and when I tell you guys tracking must be meticulous, I have to know everything for these guys to work. We don't get there by just guessing at stuff. Starts with your initial baselines. You must know body fat. I must know lean muscle. You also must know hydration. And this is really important. Now, some of you have asked me the question about purchasing your own home scales. And I could care less if the scale reads weight ever. I don't care what weight is at the end of the day, but if it measures body fat, lean mass, and hydration, those are your most important things. You have to know those things in order to get this stuff right. And then ultimately, we have to know calories in and calories out and how much you're exerting, okay? You have to know those things. Your goals and your outcomes must be measurable and quantifiable. I need to know that today you're at 25% body fat, and we need to get you to 9% body fat by this date so that you can be prepared for a 25-mile run or a photo shoot that you have to do, or you're going to have to compete in a fitness competition. I need to know these quantifiable details so that I can make sure the calculations are correct and that you're on track with all of those things. So I've talked to some of you guys about goals, and I do indicate when we talk about goals that we need to have not just I feel better. That's a great goal. I feel better. That's important because you want to feel better so that you can stay motivated. But these kind of goals are going to be things like, I want to run a 5K in under 15 minutes. That's fast. But I want to run a 5K is not a quantifiable measurement. I want to run 3.3 miles or 3.1 miles is not a quantifiable measurement. I want to run 3.1 miles in 21.5 minutes is a quantifiable goal. That we can work towards. And those are the kind of things that I'll help you set when you're ready to do that. Now, there are 3 main components to a successful sports nutrition program. Now, oddly enough, this is the same thing to any nutrition program and being healthy. 3 key components. The first one starts with your basic nutrition. You got to have basic nutrition down. It has to be spot on. The second thing is you have to have a comprehensive fitness routine. You got to know how much you're expending and what your goals are in the gym. Okay? The third thing is you got to have rest and recovery. I should have flipped these over because rest and recovery is the one that we neglect the most. Now here in this particular group, we're talking about nutrition for the most part. That's my job for you guys. And nutrition is 80% of the battle when it comes to what you look like. But if you're not resting and recovering properly, your body's never going to finish doing what it's going to do. It's always going to stay in recovery mode, trying to recover. Now, what's silly, I love the little picture down there. I pulled this picture off some time ago and I get jokes about this picture. I mean, if you're sleeping like this girl is with your makeup on pretty and that guy's all happy, I mean, if you're sleeping like that, I don't know that you're really recovering, but at least they look happy while they're doing it. So we're going to talk a little bit about rest and recovery, but it is hugely important. In fact, recovery is the reason that you get healthier. So that's what the main part is. So let's talk about these 3 things. This basic nutrition program starts off with our protein, carbs, fat, and calories. We add in supplementation, which we'll talk about shortly, based off of what those goals are and things that your body is doing. So as you move beyond your basic stuff and you start working towards some advanced goal setting and some advanced things in the gym, then we need to include supplementation in order to make sure the body's getting what it wants, what it needs to repair. Your comprehensive fitness program must include a couple of things. It has to be accurate in form to function. Just going to the gym and lifting weights doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something healthy for the body. It's the perfect reason why Sean teaches classes, and he's so particular about how you use that megaformer. I mean, you guys know Sean he will come around and correct you and make sure you're doing things correctly, make sure your body's in alignment, make sure your knees are in the right place and your shoulders are back and down. Form and function is so critical. And when you see people in the gym who are lifting heavy weights, it's comical to those of us in the industry because you see this big old jacked up guy pushing all of this weight, and 90% of the time, there's nothing about form or function that he's regarding. It's just heavy weight. And I've tested this with a couple of my big bodybuilder friends. Now, granted, they can still lift a lot of weight, but if we take the weight that they're doing and reduce it by about 1/3 of what they're currently doing, and I force them to do it correctly, they usually struggle. They've just learned how to slack on their form and their functionality of the exercise to be able to push more weight so that the muscle grows faster. But ultimately, they lose the functionality of these muscles if it's not correct. So you have to be really careful with form and function. You also have to know the desired outcome. What is the outcome that you want from these workouts? If you're going to balance burn, your outcome is to just get tighter and fitter, well, balance burn is great because it works the core and starts stabilizing all of this whole section of the body so that you can focus on these exercises better. Your body becomes more stable. So now when you come off of the megaformer and you go into the gym working with the trainer or training on your own or maybe out running or whatever, your body is much more stable. So you have to know what that desired outcome is to make sure that you're producing a program that's effective. I want to talk about resistance training versus cardio, because this is a huge misconception. There's a lot of misinformation about resistance training and cardio, the difference in the two of them. And a lot of it comes down to between sexes, quite honestly. And we find if I ask someone what they do and what they feel is more important in the gym, most guys will say they prefer to do resistance training because it builds muscle. And most women will say, well, I just need to do more cardio because they want to lose body fat. And that's how we've kind of separated it out, and we kind of fight that battle quite a bit. One of the reasons is that we associate resistance training with building muscles, and most women say, well, I don't want to build big muscles. I don't want to be a big bodybuilder. I want to be lean, and so I'm going to do cardio. Well, if you talk to any of my female bodybuilder friends and clients, they will tell you getting big is not easy. So it's not something you're going to get very easily if you go to the gym and do resistance training. It's very difficult for women to grow. So I want to explain some differences between these cardio and resistance training. Now, a cardio program, something that's high in cardio, no matter what your rate is, so whatever your heart rate is, I'm not going to get too deep into aerobic and anaerobic stages because we're talking about nutrition tonight. But with cardio, no matter what you're doing, this is a short-term fat burn period, okay? You're on the treadmill for an hour or for 45 minutes, you're in class for 45 minutes to an hour, and you're doing spin class or whatever, and you're burning calories really rapidly, but you're burning glycogen and you're burning off these calories that your body has built up for this short-term burn. What it doesn't do is it doesn't tear down muscles very much. It just uses calories to do exercise. So it's a very short-term process. You're going to burn calories for a few hours after you finish your cardio class. It's a temporary increase in endorphins. So as you run, you know, talk about the runner's high or the cardio high, it gives you this sense of euphoria, some endorphins, which is very good for you, but it's a very temporary thing because your body gets elevated and then it comes right back down, and that will go away. It requires a full understanding of proper endurance fueling. So you guys should have already figured this out. In order to do cardio, your body needs calories. So there's no reason to go to the gym and do cardio or do anything if you haven't got proper fuel in your body. Remember, it takes carbohydrates to do this type of exercise. And most of us don't want to eat very many carbs because of what's going on in our, what's being told by the world about carbs and how bad they are for us. And so we go into the gym or we go into doing a cardio workout and we don't have the proper fuel to do it effectively. And so understanding that in order to get a really good cardio workout is critical. You wouldn't believe the amount of carbs that some of my endurance athletes will eat because they have to. And we're talking like 2,000, 3,000 calories of carbs through the day that they have to consume in order to be able to do the work that they're asking of their body. Versus resistance training. This is a really cool way of looking at this. And I really want you to get this because this hopefully will help transition your brain a little bit as to how you need to train your body. So with resistance training, and it can be, resistance training is megaformer, it's CrossFit, it's working out in the gym using weights, it's anything that you're doing that's stressing the muscle for a period of time so that it tears down the muscle fibers. Heart rate is a moderate heart rate. So what's fun about this is there's 3 days of fat burning. You want to know why? Because you're tearing muscles down and the body takes time to regenerate them. And so it's working for 3 days at least to repair these things. And so you're upping the metabolism and the body's burning more calories if you go and you do resistance training. So the body's going to work harder over time when you're doing this. It also elevates the hormone levels that reduce stress. So cardio produces endorphins, which makes us feel good, but resistance training will increase the hormone levels that reduce stress. So we feel long-term, we feel less stressed and more relaxed from the hormone levels that change in our body as we burn muscle fiber, okay? It also builds lean tissue. So as we tear the muscle down and it repairs itself, it's going to build more lean muscle, which increases metabolism. We've already talked about that when we talked about proteins. And so now we're building up that metabolism, which means we burn more calories. And as we continue to fuel the body, guess what happens? We end up burning more calories. We end up having less fat, or more fat loss. So now our body's losing more fat because of this whole process. And so in these two scenarios with this, an effective cardio program is great for cardiovascular health. It's great for endurance. It's great for making us feel good and burning off that steam and really kind of just sweating it out really good. That's great. But if you want long-term success with your program and you want body fat to really drop and you want to feel much better, building lean muscle through resistance training is the key to it. It is all about the resistance training. Now, I do both of these on, for different reasons, but definitely remember my the webinar where I told my story. That middle picture, that middle group of me of consuming 2,400 calories, I was at 174 pounds and I was going to the gym every day doing resistance training and 30 to 45 minutes worth of cardio. It wasn't until I stopped doing cardio that my body just blew up and my body fat just went away. So when I stopped doing so much cardio, my body said, great, I can finally grow now and I can finally have lean muscle that functions normally. And I wasn't burning all those calories off that my body needed to build a healthy body. And so sometimes we get in this little trap of just doing cardio because it burns quick calories. So just keep that in mind. Now, the third part about this is sleep. Uh-oh, what's going on here? There we go. Is sleep, rest and recovery. The average human body needs between 7 and 8 hours of full rest per day, as recommended by leading sleep specialists and doctors. 7 to 8 hours. Now, I'm one of those people that has a hard time sleeping 7 or 8 hours. I don't go to bed very early, and my body wakes up as soon as light starts. Now that I have my little puppy, it starts a little earlier. But so 7 to 8 hours is usually more than most of us can get. Now, some of you guys I've talked to, you can sleep for 10, 12 hours a day. But 7 to 8 hours is the optimal time. In fact, there are a lot of studies out there that you can't oversleep. And so just be conscious if you're oversleeping more than 8 hours, there could be some other hormonal problems or some other issues that you need to work on to make sure that your body's recovered properly. But muscles need between 48 and 72 hours under normal stress to repair and recover. Now that means, when you go to the gym and you work out and then you're sore for a couple of days, it's that 48 to 72 hours that your body needs to rebuild those. If you're not getting ample rest, then those things can't recover. Now, even heavyweight training, so some of my big bodybuilders and people who are really pushing their body in weight training, it may require up to 6 days for them to fully recover from one major workout if they're really tearing that muscle down. And so they require a lot of sleep. I have one bodybuilder, guys, who he goes to bed every night at 8 o'clock because he's in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, but he must get that sleep or else he just can't even function. His body just is in constant repair mode. And so he's in the bed by 8 o'clock every night, and he's like, I can't even stay awake any longer. My body's ready to repair. The body needs at least 2 hours post-workout for your hormone levels and your temperature, your body temperature to return to normal and start that brain function to recover in sleep mode. So for those of us who work out later in the day or even close to bedtime, if you do some workout before bed, just know that the body doesn't get to sleep as quickly. So you might feel tired and you might fall asleep really quickly, but your body doesn't really get into those sleep modes for up to 2 hours after you work out. So just be careful working out really late in the evening and then going to bed thinking you're getting good restful sleep. Okay, so those are your nutrition programs, your comprehensive workout, and your rest and recovery. Those are the 3 main components of your training. Okay, so let's move into supplementation because this is really where the meat of our stuff tonight is going to fall. Now, first thing, what do you need to know first? So some key things that we need to make sure that we know. First off, there is an overabundance. I mean, just a stupid amount of information about supplements, what's available on the market, types of products that are out there, companies. There's so much fad marketing. I mean, even on social media, you can just log on to Facebook and every other ad on there is like how, at least for me it is. I don't know if it's because of the types of posts, but every other ad on there for me is like how this man dropped 40% body fat and looks shredded at the age of 75. And it's all these stupid fad stuff that's on there. None of it's real. But there's so much information out there that we just get bombarded with and we don't even know where to begin. We don't even know what to do with it. Don't be fooled by what you read on the labels or what's on the internet. Now, this is my little conversation to have with people who say, well, I'm just going to go to ABC Nutrition Store and I'm going to pick up a couple of things. Because what will happen is you walk in the door and you're like, oh, I want a flat stomach, and this thing says burns body fat, and it has a really lean girl on the front of it with this ripped abs. You're like, yeah, she's got abs. This product works, and so you take this product because she's got abs on the product on the container. Well, that isn't necessarily true. For those guys out there, they're like, yeah, this product builds muscles because this guy's got big arms on that container, and so they buy the one with the big arms. Don't be misled by what's written on the label. Just do your homework or have someone like me help you navigate through this so that you don't make silly mistakes. Because this is the problem. Supplements are not regulated. Most of the supplements out there that you see, especially the newer supplements, they're not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. So there's no real information on the containers that anyone has said is accurate or true or anything. It's whatever the person wants to put in the product and whatever they want to tell you. So be very, very, very careful with what types of products you use. This particular fact right here is very concerning for most people. Most or many supplements are out there are pre-trial drugs that have not yet been tested for results. or they're drugs that may have had not had the original desired outcome, but they showed side effects that could be a benefit to the sports and bodybuilding industry. Now, this is a great area for products that talk about building lean muscle or increasing testosterone levels, or things that are kind of blanket statements about increasing muscle, because there are a lot of drugs that were in drug trials with companies. And for instance, there's one drug trial for a drug that was developed to minimize the muscle wasting for HIV patients. So the medications that are used in HIV causes muscle wasting, where the body just wastes muscle off of different parts of the body. And so this particular drug was developed to hopefully counterbalance that, so there were no muscle wasting problems. What they found was that it wasn't effective in an HIV patient, but it did show signs that it could help regenerate some muscle or help build muscle. And so they took the drug off of a trial and put it into a supplement container and marketed as a particular product that could help build lean muscle. Now, it didn't take very long before the government stepped in and said this is a post-trial drug that did not have its desired outcome, and they needed to pull it from the shelves. And so then that particular product was pulled. But know that a lot of the supplements that you see in these stores, there's just no reason that you should put them in your body. They're just not safe, or they haven't even been tested to be safe. And so just be very, very, very careful with these products. Be wary of the improved formula and the latest advancement products. Guys, trust me when the nutrition supplement industry and the bodybuilding industry has tried everything. They have manipulated every product. They know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And at the end of the day, the improved formula is likely nothing more than a repackaging. And so there's nothing the latest advancement of any product that are out there. There are very few new things coming down the pipe that we know of that the supplement industry really is hanging their hat on. Beyond what we already have as far as the products that are out there, everything else is pharmaceutical grade, and so it requires a doctor's prescription in order to get them. So, just be very careful with this thing. Now, the basics never change. Things that we put in our body based off of what you guys already know: proteins, carbs, and fats, and vitamins and minerals. Those things never change, no matter what you do. Most everything that you can put in your body that you can get at the store, your body either already manufactures, or it's available in your food sources if you're eating healthy foods. Let me say that again. The things that you can buy in the store, a lot of these things that you can already buy in the store that promise to build muscle or reduce body fat or do whatever, these are things that your body either already produces on its own or you're already consuming if you're having a very healthy, varied diet. The difference is these things shown in greater quantities have some effect on these things. For instance, fat loss. Your body produces certain things that create fat loss, and so if you add them into the body in abundance, your body might show some response to that. And so that's where we get caught up in the marketing behind it, is that this particular product must be fantastic because I need this. Well, you already make this. Your body already has it. So just be careful deviating away from the basics. You just have to stay with the basics. And here's my soapbox moment about this, because this is one of the hardest conversations, or I guess the challenging conversation I have with so many clients that come to me who want to be fit and want to be healthy and want to drop body fat and all of those things. They've talked to somebody in the gym, and I use Joe Bodybuilder at Balance because you guys are Balance Gym members. But you've talked to somebody in the gym who you think has a great body and has figured this out, and you ask them what they do, and they say, well, this is what I do. And then you take that as this person clearly knows what they're doing because they look like this. And that's not necessarily true. So don't just think that because someone looks good in the gym or that they have the body that you want or the fitness lifestyle that you want, that you just need to mimic that person. Because it's not always as it seems. And I'll give you two good examples, and I'll tell you why these two people are listed on here. So this guy, this is Ian, and this is Megan. I know both of these people. Ian's actually a client of mine. Megan is his girlfriend. Okay? Both of them are competitive bodybuilders, clearly. Now, at the end of the day, Megan and Ian do not look like this because they have basic dietary needs and put good supplements in their body and just go to the gym, okay? They do things to their body in much more drastic situations to achieve these kind of results. But on the off season, when Ian and Megan do not look like this, they look like your average big, thick, heavy bodybuilder in the gym. They're not 3% body fat. They have regular body fats. They look like normal people, other than the fact that they're clearly both very large. And so people will ask them what they do. And Ian will tell you, Ian's been a bodybuilder since he was 10 years old. He started bodybuilding at the age of 10. So he's done things to his body since he was 10 that make him like this. Does he or has he used substances in his body that are not on the market, or maybe potentially legal or not used from a store that you can buy? Absolutely. You don't build a body like this without having some type of external stimuli to help the body grow, okay? Now, a bodybuilder will never tell you what they do because they don't want you to know what they do. But I'm here to tell you, you don't get like this by putting a little extra protein in your body and taking a fat burner, all right? These guys know a lot about nutrition, and they do things to their bodies that's very extreme. So don't listen to what these people say in the gym and they tell you, because what they do is very different than what your body is going to need, okay? That's my little soapbox moment with it. Great people. I love both of these guys to death. Ian's been a longtime client of mine. Megan is a super fantastic girl, personal trainer, nutritionist, and she trains bodybuilders. But they will tell you they do not do the normal things that you and I might want to do to our body, okay? That's my little soapbox with that. We're done with that conversation. And by the way, yes, I will freely admit I have clients who use performance-enhancing drugs to get the results that they have. And the important part with that is that when people use those things, you have to know how to use them properly under doctor supervision, and it can be used for different reasons. So I'm not that person who says I won't even talk to you if you use those kind of drugs, but it happens, it works, and the whole bodybuilding industry is full of that. You just have to know what you're doing, and it's not something I would ever recommend to any client of mine to do. So yeah, moving on. All right, supplementation, basic sports nutrition supplementation program. So these are the basics that we want to start working on. You guys already have your protein, your carbs, your fat, your calories, you know all those things. So what can you start to add to your basic needs so that you get a little bit better performance in the gym? So making sure you've got a good quality whey protein, casein protein, and soy isolate protein. These three proteins are three different types of proteins. Whey and casein are both milk proteins. Soy isolate is the protein removed from the soy plant. These three things in conjunction, as noted by the #1 nutritionist in the world, Dr. Heber, these things in conjunction will give you all of the essential amino acids your body needs with these three protein sources alone, okay? It means you must supplement protein into your diet. So for those of you who only want to eat whole foods, this isn't going to work for you. In order to build the muscle that you want, if you want to start building lean muscle and start working towards sports nutrition, some sports nutrition issues, we have to supplement more protein. You cannot eat enough protein to begin with by eating chicken, unless you want to eat 14 chicken breasts a day, okay? So that's kind of how that works. These aids in the building of lean muscle and speeding recovery. Remember, proteins break down into amino acids. They're what builds lean muscle. Your baseline protein numbers that you have in your meal plan right now are the optimal protein amount that you need to maintain the muscle and continue building that muscle that you've got. If you want to build more muscle and you want to get leaner and you want to go farther and deeper into your meal planning and go deeper into the sports nutrition, it means more protein. You've got to overfuel these muscles in order for them to grow and to recover quickly. A multivitamin. At this point, if you're burning enough calories and you're tearing enough muscles down, you are not getting the essential vitamins and minerals your body needs in order to maintain healthy functions. And so at that point, we must introduce in a good quality multivitamin. If you guys remember from one of our very first conversations, a multivitamin must not be a one a day. It must be broken into multiples. Depending on the demands of the body, the amounts will change, but a multivitamin that can be taken throughout the day. In fact, using Ian as an example, Ian takes 5 multivitamins a day. He needs that much multivitamin to make sure his body's getting enough to repair itself. That's his amount, and it's about 3 times what the recommended daily amount of each one of the minerals that you would potentially put in your body. They provide the essential micronutrients that is not found in adequate amounts of our food sources, and therefore it must be added into it. Now, something else to add in for a really good basic sports nutrition program is introducing caffeine into it. Now, this isn't usually something I have to worry about with most people, because most people already consume caffeine of some sort. They use tea, or they use coffee, or they're already using caffeine. Now, this is not that type of caffeine that I'm talking about. I'm not saying that I'm giving you permission to go out and go, now, yay, great, now Jason said I can add coffee back into my program because I need some caffeine to go to the gym. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pure caffeine that's added as a supplement into your program, and this would be in the form of a caffeine tablet, something like that. It could also be used in a green tea form. There are a lot of green teas that have high elevated levels of caffeine in them, and those are very clean forms of caffeine that we would put in someone's body to be used as a vasodilator. So these are natural vasodilators, and what they do is increase the oxygen flow through the blood. And the reason we want the oxygen to go through more oxygen to come through the blood is that that's how we begin to fuel the muscles to repair themselves. You have to have the oxygen to feed the muscles and to have a more intense workout. It gives you a kind of a natural high in the gym. So these are the three main components of that particular, like a basic nutrition program. So if you're already there and you're working on that, some of you guys are already here, you're already doing these particular things because you're doing a pre-workout and a post-workout and those kind of things. Now, to step it up a little bit, to go into somewhat of an increased performance and recovery, this is where we must introduce a branched chain amino acid. Now, branched chain amino acids are made up of three main amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Your body requires amino acids of all types to be able to rebuild the body. These three are considered the branched chains because their chemical structure are branched. That's why they're called branched chain. These are the primary amino acids that are used to repair muscles. So you must begin to introduce a branched chain amino acid in larger quantities so that your body can start the recovery and repair process much easier, okay? Now, these are, again, derived from proteins that are needed for that repair, recovery, and also to reduce muscle breakdown. If you've got these in the body throughout the process, then it reduces the amount of repair that the body has to do. It's suggested that you consume about 5,000 milligrams per day. And if you look at a bottle that has, I was going to even grab my BCA bottle. If you look at your ratio, it'll be 2, 1, and 1 is the typical ratio of leucine, isoleucine, and valine at 2, 1, and 1. We're starting to see some products out there now, especially some of the more aggressive ones. I told you that the new improved versions are not necessarily any better, but you will see new improved versions of branched chain amino acids. They will now be in ratios of 3, 1, and 2. It doesn't really change a whole lot, but just know that that's out there. But 2, 1, and 1 is your main ratio. Most all of the branched chain amino acids are at that, and you'll consume around 5 milligrams per day. It can be taken during, before, or after your workouts, as long as it's around your workout and it's in your body so that your body can start to repair. For those people who are working out really hard, I actually suggest that they take them throughout the day. So they will add branched chain amino acids to all of their shakes. So if they're meal replacement shakes, I will have them add them in with their normal routine of taking their tablets or adding them to their shakes so that they're in the body all the time and can continue that repair process. All right. Now, the next part will be fish oil. So I recommended a fish oil for most everybody's meal plan. And this is because you guys doing your balanced burn classes, you're burning a significant number of calories and your body needs these to help in the repair process. So the EPA and DHA are two essential fatty acids that your body must have. And the reason it needs these is as the anti-inflammatory agent to help the body heal. And so taking a really good fish oil, if you're starting to have like knee pain, or you're having back problems that are not necessarily structural problems, but you just have an overabundance of inflammation from your workouts and your muscle soreness, having a really good fish oil can help eliminate those things. And so if you don't have a fish oil and you are experiencing some of these, maybe it's the timing to do that. Now, the American Heart Association recommends 1 gram per day because, as we talked about in the healthy fats, fish oil is good for the heart. It's recommended by the Heart Association, but in a sports nutrition program, we recommend using 2 grams per day to help reduce the muscle soreness. All right, so that's fish oils. The next one is going to be L-carnitine. Now, L-carnitine is an old product. It's not an old product. It's an amino acid, but it's been around a lot of knowledge in the sports fitness industry for a long time because L-carnitine, there's a bottle of that, was originally thought to be the magic fat pill. It was an amino acid that people realized it might even be at one time. They thought it was the amino acid that told the body that it needed to burn body fat. And so it became very popular as a fat burning tool. And it does have a significant amount of properties that help the body burn off fat at a quicker rate. So there is some benefit to using L-carnitine, having it into your program, but it is now recognized as one of the most important components of recovery, largely due to its role of reducing ammonia that accumulates in the muscles. And this allows the blood flow to increase during your exercises. So this is a great product that can be used in your pre-workout routines to help increase the blood flow. In fact, you'll find it in abundance and a lot of find it in most sports supplements. It's used in just about every single pre-workout. You'll find amount of L-carnitine in there. But it is a great tool. Has probably more research than any other sports supplement that's out there. But because it's an amino acid, the body also already has it. The body already also uses it. It's just in a larger quantity. The body does have some additional responses to it. So you will find this product in just about every place you find, and it is recommended to have about 2,000 milligrams per day of L-carnitine. So you can have that. All right, so next we're going to talk about your pre-workout, that kind of designated pre-workout products, and these are things that are used to increase the intensity and focus of your workouts. We already talked a little bit about this. I'll make a couple of little side notes as we get through here, but with your pre-workout, one of the first components of a good pre-workout is caffeine. We've already talked about caffeine tonight, so I'm not going to go into more details, but a good pre-workout will have an amount of caffeine in it, depending on the amounts. And a lot of those are pretty low dosages because, remember, caffeine is a vasodilator. You just need the body to open up is all the caffeine is for. Now, creatine. Probably the #1 conversation I have with anyone who wants to know about sports nutrition comes into creatine. In fact, I will always ask when someone says to me when they take creatine, I always ask them why they take creatine. And usually the answer is because Joe Bodybuilder at the gym told them to take creatine. It made their muscles bigger. And that's usually the #1 answer is they say, oh, somebody told me I needed to take creatine because it builds muscle. And so there's a lot of truth that creatine is a very good product for helping the body build size and build strength. But there's a reason that it does that. So creatine is actually something your body already has. Your body already creates creatine, so you already do that. It's already part of your chemical structure of your body. But when you introduce additional creatine into the body, what you're actually doing is you're telling the body that you need more water in the blood, into the muscles, and pull more water into the muscles, and this increases the size and the strength. So what happens is a guy will use, or a person will use creatine, and they'll see some additional size immediately because the body is pulling water into the muscles, and they begin to fill up quicker, and they begin to feel size a little bit more, and they begin to feel a little stronger really quickly. And so they'll use creatine pretty regularly in fairly large doses because it doesn't really say a whole lot about dosing. But what people don't realize is that creatine actually encourages water gain. And so they'll say, oh my gosh, I've gained like 5 pounds in the last couple of weeks just by adding creatine into my program. And I'm so thick and my muscles are really thick. And it's because of water. It's not because of muscle gain. It's because of water. It's doing exactly what you've told it to do. You've introduced another additional amount of creatine, telling the body to store water. And so that's what it's doing. And although you do look fuller and you do look thicker, it's water. It's not muscle. There are many forms of creatine out there. If you start looking for creatine products, there are creatine monohydrate, buffered creatine, hydrochloride, creatine nitrate. There's all kinds of different creatines out there. But you know what? No matter what they come up with, creatine monohydrate is the preferred one. It's very basic. It has very few potential side effects to it. There are some issues with cycling, so that's a term we use in sports nutrition, cycling on a product and cycling off. Because your body already creates creatine, when you start introducing additional amounts of creatine to the body, there's a risk that your body will stop producing creatine because you're overfilling it with creatine. So you will see warnings on creatine labels that say that you don't need to take it for longer than, say, 6 weeks at a time. But most people will get addicted to what they feel like with creatine, and they don't want to come off of it. So just be very, very, very careful with creatine. I have 2 really good friends who have been hospitalized for creatine overdosages. So you can overdo creatine. Your body can have some adverse effects to it, mostly in the kidneys and liver, mostly the liver. The body just starts to filter this stuff out and creates problems. The other important thing to know about creatine is it requires glucose in order to uptake into the bloodstream. Now remember our sugar conversation. Glucose, all sugars are converted to glucose for energy in the body. So the body requires sugar, basically, in order for it to uptake creatine into the bloodstream. So they don't tell you that on the containers, by the way. In fact, every container I've ever seen just says, take it with 8 ounces of water. Well, if you don't have some type of glucose already in your bloodstream, or you're not doing something that has glucose in it, then putting pure creatine in your body is pretty worthless. The body doesn't do anything with it. It's just going to filter it out. And so a lot of times, especially some of my bodybuilders who take a significant amount of creatine, they'll actually mix it in things like grape juice because it's immediate glucose right into the bloodstream and it takes up really quickly. And so don't do creatine, especially large amounts, if you're not having some type of glucose with it. All right, let's see what else is on here. Okay, so then the other part about pre-workout is nitric oxide. We have talked about nitric oxide before. In fact, nitric oxide is an amazing product. There's a nice cross-section shows you what it is. It's a very, very effective vasodilator. Nitric oxide naturally occurs in the body, by the way, and so you already have it in the bloodstream, but in larger quantities, fueling it into the body, it creates this vasodilation situation where the body then can really pump more oxygen through the bloodstream. Now, we'll talk about some other little usage of nitric oxide as well, but know that nitric oxide, Dr. Lou Ignarro is the doctor who discovered this in the body and its uses, and this led to the only Nobel Prize ever awarded in nutrition for Dr. Ignarro. And so it's a big deal. Nitric oxide is a very big deal in the nutrition world, and that's why you're seeing such a huge push in the pre-workout industry with nitric oxide. All of these nitric oxides products are based off of Dr. Ignarro's work, and they're just everywhere. It's everywhere. You'll see nitric oxide. It increases the blood flow by the red blood cells, and it's also responsible for cell communication and signals to the body. So having an increased nitric oxide production in the body actually can stimulate brain function, can make you more clear-minded. In fact, I even got to go to a symposium with Dr. Ignarro a couple of years ago when he was talking about nitric oxide, and the question came up about how much you should use. And he said, I drink, he created the product that's just pure nitric oxide precursor that encourages it in the body. He's like, I just drink it all the time. It helps my heart. It helps my vascular system. It creates, the blood vessels become smoother and softer, so now my heart doesn't work as much. My brain is much more focused. And then, again, there are a couple of other additional side effects of it. You know, think about in terms of being a vasodilator and increasing blood flow and stimulation. These also lead to responses much like Viagra and those types of products. And so this is also used in the world of erectile dysfunctions because this is a product that helps those exact same things. Okay, so nitric oxide, you'll see it everywhere in them. Now, I don't have this on here, but we talked about this a few weeks ago. In pre-workouts, the one thing that you need to be very cautious of is the product called niacin, or the additive niacin. Niacin is actually naturally occurring as well, but when introduced into the body in large quantities, it has a histamine response. And a lot of the pre-workout industries have added niacin in larger quantities into the product to give you this buzz, this pre-workout jitters that everyone wants. There are even lots of great cartoons about people on pre-workouts that are just vibrating. This is not something a pre-workout is supposed to do. A pre-workout should increase your intensity and focus, not cause you to vibrate and get itchy and start burning and your face to turn red. Those are not desirable outcomes. And so if the product has niacin in it, I urge you to steer clear of it. Of course, not everybody has the same response to niacin. Some people can take it and be completely fine, but I will tell you, more than not, my clients all have a problem with niacin. So if you look at your container and it has it in it, I suggest tossing it and find one that doesn't have it, just steering clear from niacin altogether. All right, so continue on our post-workout recovery. Now this is something that's a must in your post-workout. So L-glutamine, another amino acid found in abundance in the bloodstream already. Again, you create these things already, but in this particular process, when you're working out this hard, the body needs additional glutamine. Now, glutamine is the main building block for muscle fiber. So glutamine is the main part that the body needs to start rebuilding those muscle fibers. It stabilizes the stress response in the muscles, and it decreases soreness. That's an important one, because when someone's training really hard, muscle soreness is one of the reasons that they have a hard time getting up the next day and going and training just as hard again. Especially someone who's an endurance athlete where they have to run every day and their body's sore. Decreasing soreness and inflammation is huge. And so glutamine is a huge part of a post-workout recovery system to make sure that the body is recovering at its optimum. And this amino acid must be taken in fairly large amounts. In fact, anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams a day should be in any type of post-workout program. So for those of you, I think several of you have started using the Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And Rebuild Strength is actually the #1 recovery drink on the market in all of the sports nutrition supplements. And its reason is because it is a fantastic source of glutamine and has branched chain amino acids and glutamine all in one product, as well as the protein that your body needs in one particular product. And so getting glutamine into the body, if you are sore and you are having problems recovering, glutamine will really, really help you in that process. Some additional supplements I'll mention, because if you do any research or you go to any store, you're going to see these things. Taurine, which is a very common amino acid, you'll see that in there. It was originally used for fat loss. Beta-alanine reduces acid buildup, which also helps release stress to the muscles. D-ribose increases energy, so sometimes you'll find D-ribose in things like your pre-workouts, or it could just be a secondary item that you'll find as a mild pre-workout. HMBs, these were huge several years ago. They help reduce muscle breakdown, but we found that glutamine is much more, just a good quality glutamine and branched chain amino acids do the trick, and so it's not necessary. Arginine is a non-essential amino acid, and this particular amino acid is responsible for increasing the nitric oxide production in your body. And so you'll find arginine in just about every nitric oxide product, because it will help increase the body's production of its own, but also help the body uptake the product that you're putting into it. So arginine will be pretty widely used in a lot of products. Tribulus, this is something that most of you women will not ever see, but for any guy who is looking to build size and build lean muscle, Tribulus is a hormone stimulates the secretion of hormones and supports testosterone. And so for a long time, Tribulus was really used as a testosterone supporter and booster in a lot of men. And in fact, there's a lot of other uses that it has in the sports and fitness industry, but it is a healthy alternative for someone looking for something to help build lean muscle, to stay away from the illegal substances that one might put in their body. It's a really good product. Conjugated linoleic acid reduces body fat. So CLAs are commonly used as a body fat reducer. You'll see those that come in a little tablet. You'll see those quite a bit. And then zinc and magnesium aspartate. These are essential minerals that help increase the metabolism. So ZMAs are used pretty widely. They're a capsule or tablet that you'll find at the store by themselves, or not typically in anything else. So those are some of your traditional things that you might find. But I want to finish off with a couple of little notes. So don't go into the sports nutrition supplement world by yourself. Don't think you're going to walk into any store and go, this is what I need and it's going to work. It takes a lot of work and a lot of planning to put a program together like this. Start with your nutrition basics first. Get that part down. Some of you guys, I can log into your journals and you are spot on. You know exactly. There was one of you guys the other day I looked at. I mean, the journal was within like single-digit calories and single-digit proteins every single day, and you're really getting these things down and really understanding. But for some of you guys who are still struggling to meet calories and protein, going this route is just going to confuse you even more. Listen to your body. If you know that your body is really sore and you might need something, talk to me about it. Let me know what's happening in your body. Let me know what's going on, and we can try to come up with a solution for those. And it may just be as simple as adding in, a multivitamin and a fish oil that helps the body repair itself. And just like your nutrition plan, your basic nutrition plan, supplementation is long-term. This isn't something you're going to be able to just plug and play. You can't just choose a glutamine and set it in and go, this works perfectly for my body. It takes tracking, it takes results, and it takes time to figure out what works. And so we have to work through it. We have to add one piece in, and we have to see how that does, and then add another piece and see how that works. And then the other piece of this is having regular blood testing. If you're going to start introducing any supplementation into your body, you really, really do have to have regular blood testing to test kidney and liver functions. These things are put in the body in larger quantities than the body is accustomed to, and the body's going to try to filter them out the best they can that's not being used, and therefore the kidneys and the liver are going to take some damage from it. And so you definitely want to make sure you have a good relationship with your doctor, that you know that you can walk in and say, hey, like every 3 months, I need to make sure that my blood counts are on track so that you're not damaging any part of your body. That's the main worry with any of that. And then lastly, there in big letters, this is the take-home message of the night. There is no magic pill or supplement that can fix a poor diet. So if you're not getting the results you want, and this is my biggest fear every time I teach this particular part of this course, if you're not getting the results you want, then you're going to go back and look at these slides and go, well, Jason said that this particular L-carnitine is great for lowering body fat. And so now you're going to go to the store and you're going to grab something with L-carnitine in it or CLAs or do something. You're going to find something and take it home, and you're going to start taking a pill because your program's not working. When in all actuality, you're not hitting your protein numbers, you're not hitting your calorie numbers, you're not hitting the gym the way you should be, and so the basics haven't been done yet. So there's no magic pill. None of those things that I talked about are going to make it work if you're not doing the work in the beginning. Okay? You guys know that. You've heard that from me many times. You've got to do the work, you've got to learn the basics, and then we can add on to these. And so no pill is going to change a bad diet. Okay? That's that. All right, so next steps for today. Connect on social media. Some of you guys are just now starting to connect on social media. Be sure you do that. I've had some great conversations with people over social media, and I share a lot of information on my Facebook feed, and so you can get a lot of good information through there and connect with each other through that. But also the Balanced Burn group, if you're not already in the Facebook Balanced Burn group, then definitely hop in there. You guys are encouraging each other, working together. In fact, I was talking with one of you guys the other day, and you said that it was just great to have a community behind you, because now like you go to the gym and you know people, and you see these people in class, and you can actually talk to them about what's going on, and that's helpful. MyFitnessPal, tracking is important to me, and so make sure that you're connected on MyFitnessPal. Some of you still haven't shared your journals with me, and most of that's usually because you don't know that you haven't, or that you don't know how to. So if that's the case and you don't know how to, it's really simple. Just shoot me a message and we'll get you connected so I can check your tracking. Keep tracking. I'm going to beat this into you guys every single week. Track your food, track your meals, track your workouts. That way, when you come to me after this is over and say, yes, I'm ready to take this to the next level, we don't have to go back and learn to track. You guys have 8 weeks of tracking. You already know what you're doing. You're ready to go hit the ground running. And we can just start hitting some really big goals. So keep doing it. You guys only have 2 weeks left. This is so crazy. We're flying by. So where are you with your goals? Where are you at with everything that's going on? Some of you have had some little roadblocks. I know it's been really challenging with the allergies the last couple of weeks. Have kept some of us in and out of the gym and in and out of work and all these different things. Some of you, work is really is really beating you up. But as I had a conversation this week with one of the challenge members, those are still excuses. Those are all excuses. Where are you with your goals? What do you need to do to really step it up these last 2 weeks and get to your goals? If it's just tracking, if that's all you get done for the rest of these 2 weeks and really get focused on tracking, then the results will come. You just got to get there first. Okay, so where are you with your goals? What do you need to do to get there? Rewatch this webinar. There is a lot of information in this webinar. I'm going to try to get this one posted tomorrow if I get a chance. Because there's a lot, I want to make sure you guys have plenty of time to watch it over the next week as I get get some messages from you guys and make sure you have all those answered. So rewatch this one, take good notes. Several of you have already asked me about private coaching. I've talked to some of you about that already. In fact, a couple of you have already reached out to me and scheduled some stuff outside of this particular group, and I am more than willing to help wherever I can. I'm also very willing, because you guys are local, I'm very willing to take time to meet with you personally if that's what it takes to help get you on the right track on where you need to go. And so know that private coaching tool is there. We can talk about pricing and commitments and all those kind of things as you decide you want to go there. So don't hesitate to kind of start thinking about that as we finish out this particular group. The next challenge, I told you guys I was going to try to get with Sean this week and find out if we were going to continue doing another challenge or something in the works, and I still haven't gotten with Sean to do that. So that is my fault. I did not follow up with him on that. But I am working on another challenge myself that as soon as I get the website rolled out and you guys into it, you'll get all that information for another challenge that I'm going to be running that you guys will be able to participate in. That'll be a lot of fun. Next week's topic is metabolism and exercise, and so we're going to dig into a little more of this exercise and how your exercise programs change your metabolism and your nutritional needs based off of those, and talk a little bit more about your exercise programs and how that might affect you. So I think that's it for tonight. Yep, that does it. So I'm going to unshare this and then stop the recording for you guys at home. So thank you guys for joining us. For those people at home that are watching this later, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, then we'll get to the question and answer section.